El exec, el exec, el exec. El Vélez, el Vélez, el Vélez. El fenómeno que todos quieren ser. El chamaquito que no pueden entender.
How we doing, guys? Welcome to the Exec Talk Podcast. I am your host, Velez. How are we doing? Welcome to episode 133. All right, so first of all, let's get this out of the way. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, comment, follow me on all my socials. Get cracking on that. Big changes coming soon. I know that you're getting this on a Wednesday night, and the reason for that is I was tired the last 2 days and I was busy yesterday. So I couldn't get to it. Didn't have the energy to show you guys, how I want to approach this. So getting on a Wednesday, but moving forward, I will be very punctual with the Monday, with the Tuesday and Thursday, because Monday Night Football, and then of course Thursday Night Football. Got to get in front of those. Definitely, we're gonna get back to our regularly scheduled programming here's next week. But you're gonna get this episode today, and then you're gonna get an episode Friday. So I'm still covering 2 episodes. Gonna probably cover the NFC and AFC West on Friday. Today we're doing the AFC and NFC South. We already did the East. We already did the North. You can go back in the last 2 episodes if you want to check out what I thought and think about those teams and how their outlook looks. But starting with this week, we had the beginning of college football in Ireland. Wonderful atmosphere. Georgia Tech, number 10 Florida State, and Georgia Tech upsets number 10 Georgia State. Georgia Tech, Florida State. And it's hilarious because at the root of it all is the same dude that they thought Clemson was gonna that they thought Clemson was gonna like build around after the Trevor Lawrence era. DJU, Ugalungale. And if I'm butchering that, I'm sorry. That's why we call him DJU. Then he went to Oregon State. He balled out at Oregon State. Now he's at FSU. And I'm still seeing the same inconsistencies that I saw at Clemson. Indecisive, awkward, and the ball placement and accuracy is not there. Hell of an arm, kind of like an Anthony Richardson. Hell of an arm, doesn't really know how to use it. But it was on a last-second field goal. It was 21-21. Georgia Tech and Haynes King, that quarterback, remember that name. I think that kid is going to be good. I like what I saw from the kid. He has a little bit of Josh Allen in him. He has a little bit of Justin Herbert. I like the size. I like his body. I like the kid. Their offense was pretty good. Receivers pretty good. Florida State got cooked in the second half, especially on the ground. They couldn't stop people they couldn't stop Georgia Tech on third down. Haynes King kept making great throws, or they kept getting big runs down the stretch. FSU was definitely in it to win it, but Georgia Tech, if you look at this game, was kind of not dominating, but you could tell that they were probably the better team, as in like playing as a team, not necessarily in recruiting, but playing as a team. So basically, 24-21, last second field goal. DJU did some good thing, but some bad throws, still inaccurate, still awkward. FSU defense let them down. The offense brought them back, but the hell of a game from Haynes King as a QB for Georgia Tech. Strong, poised, and Georgia Tech got a good team. good running backs. They're not running the triple option as much as they did with Josh Nesbitt and with Calvin Johnson was there and Demaryius Thomas, RIP, and Jonathan Dwyer. But they still run it a fair amount, and it still gives problems. Their defense played pretty well against that FSU offensive line and running attack. You could tell FSU lost Johnny Wilson. You could tell FSU lost Keon Coleman. But overall, doesn't matter. Why doesn't it matter? Because this loss, regardless of how it looks, if it's just one loss on their resume, I'm talking about FSU, but Georgia Tech as well, because there's 12 teams making it. So there's going to be people with maybe 1 or 2 losses in there. There's only 5 automatic bids, and those are the 5 conference champions. So even the conference champion could have a couple losses. So, overall, really, that was the only game that really meant something for this week. But this upcoming week, we're gonna get into it on Friday. On the Friday's episodes, we're gonna go through the college schedule this week where it really starts kicking off. But shout out to Georgia Tech. Hell of a win. In Ireland. Absolutely incredible atmosphere. NASCAR. Harrison Burton wins his first NASCAR race with his father, Jeff Burton, a legendary NASCAR racer, on the call. So, he was in the booth watching him win. A crazy, chaotic Coke Zero's 400 at Daytona. Kyle Busch lost the lead on the back stretch on the last lap and finished second. He stays out of the playoffs with one more regular season race to go. They go to Darlington this upcoming week. Josh Berry dominated all race until a massive crash. He basically went upside down. He hit the wall at 150 miles an hour. He got out. He was thankfully he was okay. Kyle Larson and Joey Logano were in front the whole race, but the big one happened in the last 10 laps, knocked a bunch of people out. A big one happened early in the race. Didn't knock that much people out, but still knocked some contenders out. Really exciting race. The Coca-Cola 600, the Coke 400, what it used to be called the Pepsi 400. It used to be run in July. Absolutely incredible. Always fun at Daytona. You always have the possibility of chaos. You're always going to get a big one. You're always going to get high drama, strategy, fuel saving. We got everything and much more. And for Harrison Burton to get his first NASCAR win in that fashion is absolutely incredible. I'm super bummed out about Kyle Busch because now his 19-year streak of winning comes down to one race in Darlington. Do I believe he can win it? Yes. Do I believe he will? I don't think so. Now, after Darlington, you get the 16 that go on to the playoffs. And that's those 16 guys are going to go for a championship. So the points get reset, the stage points throughout the year get distributed, and you get your final order. And then based on your first results of the first race is when cuts start happening and everything till we get to the final 4 in Phoenix. Okay. As for Formula One, remember I said McLaren coming out of the break, McLaren had the fastest car. I wouldn't be surprised if Lando won. Now, it was Verstappen's home race, and he had won 3 years in a row there. But Lando and McLaren had the better car. So Lando wins. He wins at Zandvoort. Max gets the pole, but he can't keep it. He gets past around lap 15. Norris finally passes him because his tire life is better. He has better straight line speed. Zandvoort is a very, very difficult track to pass on. Classic Formula One track. Basically, if you really think about it, one passing zone coming through to the stripe. It's a short straightaway. It's not that long. You have to be really close to get the slipstream along with DRS to brake later into turn one on the inside to get the lead coming out of turn one. Because everywhere else in the track, it is turn. There is barely any straightaway enough for you to make a dent to try to pass in any type of. There is possible, but you have to have a better car, essentially. So Max finishes second. Charles Leclerc finishes third. Like I said, Max got the lead at the start, but Lando had a faster car, passed Max around lap 15, and he won by 22 seconds. So we saw Max get maxed. What Max used to do the last 2 years, which is literally destroy the field. It wasn't a competition. This one was a little bit more of a competition, but once Lando started stretching his legs and got clean air is king, and he just drove away. Now, this week, we have the Italian Grand Prix at Monza, one of the oldest, most classic Formula One tracks, super fast, the Parabolica. I mean, you know, you have everything you want in a Formula One event, and it's the home of Ferrari. Maranello is just around the 15 minutes away. It's the home of Ferrari. The Tifosi, which is the basically the Ferrari diehard stands. They're called the Tifosi. They're going to be there in bunches. They're going to cheer on Carlos Sainz. They're going to cheer on Leclerc. I still think that if you ask me, it's between 3 teams. Mercedes was good this past weekend, but just didn't have the qualifying position. And at Zandvoort, like I said, it's so hard to pass. So Lewis started at 14th or 11th, worked his way up to 7th, I believe. Just couldn't make headway, had to pit. You lost the spots that you got, stuff like that. So I expect a much better showing this weekend, especially from Lewis after a disappointing qualifying run in Zandvoort. Not that it was unexpected, because in Q2 I believe he had the fastest time, or top 3 time. So when in Q1, I think he had the fastest time, and then in Q2 he just didn't get a good lap in. I think he messed up really bad in sector 1 and just couldn't recover and got knocked out in Q2. So. Very rare for him. So I think he'll definitely do better this upcoming week. As for IndyCar, Will Power wins in Portland, dominating fashion. Dominating fashion. We're talking about he led 101 of 110 laps. He got the lead and just took off. Alex Palou had nothing for him. He lost, 4 seconds plus on the pit stops across the whole race. Will Power just nailed his pit stops better. There was just cleaner pit stops. And then in clean air, his car was untouchable. He's one of the best ever. He keeps his championships hopes alive with 2 races left. Palou still in the lead and still has a 2-race lead. I think he's still up 50 points or 55 points, somewhere around there, which amounts to about 2 races worth of points. But Scott Dixon got crashed out in the first corner, so that basically ruined his race. But by Palou finishing second, he keeps that championship lead up there in the stratosphere. So IndyCar's coming to an end. There's two races left. Milwaukee's next. I think both ovals. It's gonna be fun. I still think Alex Palou wins back-to-back championships. If not, it's going to be Penske, because Penske is really strong right now with Newgarden, with Power, and with Scotty Mack. So it's going to be interesting. All right, let's get to some football news. Ceedee Lamb signs a 4-year, $136 million, $100 million guaranteed, $36 million due at signing, making him the second highest paid wide receiver at $34 million a year under Justin Jefferson at 35. Can we say finally? You get what I'm saying? Like, Jerry Jones waited so long to just give him this, basically a contract that he could have gave him before even JJ signed his. Would have made him the highest paid right then and there, would have had that title, made him feel good, and then JJ comes at 35, whatever. What I think for this, what happens now is Jerry Jones has to decide whether to pay Dak, and Dak is asking for $60 million a year. You're smoking something really potent, my boy, because the best guy in the league is not making $60 million. The second best guy in the league is not making $60 million. I think you should be around 50 because of what you do in the regular season. I think you should be around that 2 number. That's just my personal opinion. I've seen you play. You play good in the regular season, but once game plans really get serious, and what I mean by this is, like, take the NBA, for example. You see people getting blown out and everything, and you're like, maybe in a 7-game series, like, maybe they wouldn't be that good. And then you get in a 7-game series where your whole purpose for one team is to defend what the other team does best to the best of your ability and execute your offense to the best of your ability. Well, I'm not going to put it all on Dak, but I'm going to certainly put a lot of it on Dak, because how come Ceedee Lamb repeatedly in every single playoff game is literally ghosted for targets? And it's very simple. The only game plan the defense has against you, because you haven't shown anything else during the whole season, is stop 88. If we could stop 88, you have nowhere to go. Because Jake Ferguson's not going to make that type of play. Brandon Cooks is not going to make that type of play. You don't have anybody else to make a play. That's why you had to pay Ceedee Lamb $34 million. And that's why, even if you get rid of Dak, where are you going? There is nothing for you to get. Your offensive line is suspect. I think they're old, and the young parts might not be as better than the Tyron Smith that got older, and the Travis Fredericks and the Doug Freeze. And also, that defense got absolutely torched. How are you going to be a top 5 defense during the regular season, and then this guy that has been going off for literally first year starting, has been sitting on the bench for 3 years, and comes off the bench, 8 games, looks really good, comes into your building after you went 12-5 again, and you shit the bed on defense? And you can point the blame at Mike McCarthy. You can point the blame at Dak. You can point the blame at the defense. The blame goes to everybody. Because this team repeatedly underachieves. That's why I say the same thing with Boston, even though they won it this year in NBA. Boston and Dallas, talk to me when the playoffs happen. Talk to me when there's real money on the line. And you'll see their true colors. That's it. Good job. You paid Ceedee Lamb. What are you going to do with it? Because in the playoffs, you clearly have shown that you cannot go up against the... Dude, Green Bay was not the best team in the NFC last year. It was San Francisco, and you couldn't even get there. You let an upstart destroy you in your building. So don't tell me about, now we got Ceedee Lamb signed, it's going to be great. Nah. It's not going to be no runs, sunshine and roses. The Eagles are winning your division, and if you don't nut up, you won't make the playoffs. Because every other team got better. Green Bay's going to be there. Chicago might be there. The Vikings now with the J.J. McCarthy injury, probably not, but they could definitely do something. The Rams, Seattle. Like, Atlanta, like, you gotta understand that now is not the time to be like, let's pay him. And we'll wait around for Zach. If you wait around for Dak, let's say you don't pay him now. And Mad Dog Russo said this in First Take today. He said, how about I pay you? I'm going to have to pay you anyway, but how about I pay you the day after the Super Bowl after we win it? You know how stupid that sounds? You're not, in my eyes, you're not making it to the NFC Championship. In my eyes, you might not even make it to the divisional. That's what I think about the Cowboys this year. Because of the dysfunction and the lack of continuity and 30 days for Ceedee Lamb to get on a field, like, all that is going to matter. And it's going to come to head in the playoffs if they make it. Now, the division's so weak that it's just the Eagles and them. So they should make it. They should have a good record, but they ain't going to win the division. And if the Eagles don't win the division, that would be a hell of a disappointment. And we talked about that already. So, shout out to Ceedee Lamb, but I still don't think this moves the needle in any. This basically just secures that your actual offense, you still have happy. That's all it secures you. Because he's your offense. Don't talk to me about you have a running game you don't. Don't talk to me about that defense is great. It's like, that's great. That's defense is great in the regular season. What happened to Michael Parsons in the playoffs? Double teamed the whole game. Couldn't get nothing done. What happened to your great secondary with Deron Bland and Stephon Gilmore? Torched by rookies. By Musgrove, Wicks, Watson, Reed, Dubs. That's what cooked you. So don't talk to me about we paid Ceedee Lamb, we should be good now. Nah. That's not how that shit works. Trent Williams is still not signed to a new deal. And so is Aiyuk. Listen, at this point, Aiyuk does not matter to me. Aiyuk does not matter to me. What matters to me is having one of the greatest left tackles ever, still in his prime, even at 36 years old, still top dude in the league at his position, and you haven't paid him. You really want to play with that? You really, every time you lose Trent Williams, that offense dips, and it dips bad. Because nobody can match and nobody can do what Trent Williams does. He's a genetic freak, even in a league where freaks are a dime a dozen. He is freakier than freak. The movement, his weight, the way he moves with his size, his agility, like his power, the way he uses technique, his hands. You're not going to pay him. If you keep stalling, he hasn't been in camp, he doesn't have to be in camp. But if by week 1 he's not signed, he ain't playing. He's 36. He's a made man. He could retire right now. He walks into the Hall of Fame in 5 years, first ballot Hall of Famer. All he needs is a Super Bowl. Not to be a Hall of Fame, just to at least he got one. Because other than that, he's done everything. He has the most All-Pros at the position. I believe he has 3 All-Pros in a row. Basically just annihilating the position. Him and Jason Kelce the last few years have just annihilated their position. So, what are you going to do, 49ers? Because I would call into question that offense if Trent Williams is not there. I will call it into question heavily. Heavily, okay? Just saying. Aiyuk, you could get done later. He's a kid. He's coming off his rookie contract. Trent Williams is a veteran player. Keep them happy. He's a leader of your team. Him and Debo are the energy of your team. If week 1 comes and he's not signed and he's not on the field, you might lose that first week, even though it's an easy game. Or it might look like you're struggling, and Brock Purdy might not look like last year. It might look like the week 3 through 5 that you guys went through last year. Just keep that in mind. Drake Maye could possibly start week 1. That would be horrible for the kid. Keep his ass on the bench. And I'm not saying that because he's not good. I'm saying that because the team is garbage, mistache, pupush, bad. Okay? Offensive line, bad. Receivers, bad. Besides Jalen Polk. Running back, there's one good one. And the defense, you're hoping and praying that is good. And you don't have no Judon no more. And you have no Christian Barmore. So you're putting everything on Christian Gonzalez, David Godshaw, and Josh Uche. That's it. That's what you're hoping for. That's why I say you're going to be terrible. Now, supposedly, Gerard Mayo today spoke to his staff. They decided on a quarterback. They haven't made it public yet, and he hasn't talked to Jacoby or Drake Maye. If I'm Gerard Mayo, I don't care if I go 2-16, 2-15. I'm not playing Drake Maye. I'm not going to do the same thing that they did to Mac Jones after his great rookie year. Shoot him into the ground with lack of weapons, lack of just continuity, lack of everything. So, I mean, that's a bad joke if you're going to start Drake Maye. Let's get into the NFC South, the AFC South. The NFC South, wide open. Now, wide open in the sense of like, not anybody can win it, but wide open in the sense of like, I mean, if Atlanta does not win this division, what is happening? Put it this way. Let's go to it, right? Atlanta, Tampa Bay, Carolina, New Orleans. As of this point, probably second or actual worst division in football. Which is crazy to say because of Atlanta. But if you look at every other team, especially Carolina and New Orleans, you don't know what you're going to get. You don't know what you're going to get. You honestly have no clue. Let's go to the NFC South. Tampa Bay. Okay? Tampa Bay. Roster. Baker Mayfield. Is he going to take another leap? That's the question. That's what we're waiting for. Is he going to take another leap so he becomes a little bit more... You get what I'm saying? Because if he doesn't, yeah, you could have a good season. But, like, that's it. A good season. Get knocked out in the wild card round. Maybe not even make the playoffs. Like, that's what the NFC South is looking at right now. It looks like the only people out of the NFC South who's going to go to the playoffs, there ain't going to be no wild card team. It's going to be the division champ, which I got as Atlanta right now. And we'll get to him a little bit late in a bit. But, you know, Baker Mayfield. I think Bucky Irving and Rachaad White are going to be your two starting running backs. And I think it's going to be by committee because both of them can catch out the backfield. Both of them can run in between the tackles, and Bucky's pretty fast. I know that the 40 time didn't show it, but I've seen him run in pads. He's pretty quick, and he's shifty. You got Mike trying to go for a 11th straight 1,000-yard season, and then I think a third straight. He's going for a record of touchdowns. I think it's over 10 in 3 years straight, something like that, over 12. Something crazy. Then you have Chris Godwin. Hopefully he has a bounce-back season and doesn't get injured. Jalen McMillan, the rookie out of Washington. I think he's going to be good. Then you have Trey Palmer. Okay. And at tight end, you have Payne Durham, Devin Colkeith, K-Dine. That's what you got. Graham Barton, good center. Robert Hainsley, your backup center. Cody Mock, is he going to have a leap from last year? And then Tristan Wirfs has to be the best left tackle in the NFC if Trent Williams is not playing. On defense, you got William Golston. You got Kalaya Kancey. Now, Kalaya Kancey can be absolute disruptor. Christian Wilkins, Chris Jones, Aaron Donald. He came from Pitt. Plays like Aaron Donald. Same size. Just needs to develop. Vita Vea, another massive D tackle that can stop the run in his tracks. So their defense is pretty good. Levante David's still there. Now he's going to teach Kalen DeLoach from FSU, the rookie. You got Yaya Diaby, who's supposedly going to be their great D end that led them in sacks last year. You have Tryon Shoyinka. See how he does in this year. But the back end, Christian Izien, Tyke Smith, Jordan Whitehead. It's just Antoine. It's literally just Antoine Winfield Jr. So when I'm looking at this roster, I'm looking at a roster that's mid-pack. Even considering the NFC. Which is much dumbed down, watered down than the AFC. Respectfully to Green Bay, San Francisco, the Rams, the Eagles. And if you want to throw the Cowboys in there, I guess you can, but I don't. Let's go to their schedule, right? Versus the Commanders at home. It's Jaden Daniels' first game. I expect the Bucs to win because of just experience. Not Raheem. Man, I am blanking. Nope. Oh my God. I cannot believe I am blanking on the Buccaneers head coach. Wow. That throws me off. That's throwing me off real bad. Todd Bowles, defensive coach. He's going to throw the kitchen sink at that kid. So for the first game, 1-0. Against the Lions, you're losing. You got a deficit of talent, and you're just not there. You're not there. That's another team that's definitely up there. The Lions. Sorry about that. No disrespect. The Broncos at your house versus a rookie quarterback in Bo. But you're facing Sean Payton. I think you can win that game. Because you're at home and it's a rookie quarterback. Against the Eagles, you're losing even though you're at home. You're losing. You have a lack of talent. And I think that offense and defense put together is better than yours. Just scheme-wise, better. I think they're coming back with a vengeance. This is the first test right here of the NFC South. You got to go against the Falcons in Atlanta week 3. You face Kirk and the whole Bijan, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, the whole stack versus that defense as well. I think you lose that because I like Atlanta this year. Then you go to New Orleans versus the Saints, another divisional matchup that's always crazy. I think you win that, though, because I think you have the advantage on the defensive side of the ball. You're younger a little bit, and when it comes to weapons, Chris Godwin and Mike Evans put together is better than Chris Olave and whoever's standing next to him. And we'll get into that when we get to the Saints. Ravens, you're losing even though you're at home. Falcons at home, you might win. Chiefs, you're losing in Arrowhead. The Giants, you're whooping their ass. You're whooping. The Panthers is interesting because it's what is the Panthers doing? Are they mediocre like last year, or are they making strides? But I believe that even though you're facing them in Carolina, I think that you can win that game. Versus the Raiders, you should win. You have the advantage quarterback-wise. Receiving-wise, Devontae, Bowers, defensively you have a problem because of Max Crosby. You have a problem. It's just what it is. But you should be able to win that game based on the fact that you have the better quarterback. Chargers, you're losing. You're not winning against Harbaugh, especially in SoFi. You win against the Panthers at your house, and you win against the Saints at your house. 8 wins? 9 wins? Are you making it? Are you making it to the playoffs with that? 9-8, 8-9? I don't think so. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's just meh. It's a meh team. New Orleans. Roster-wise, Derek Carr, do not know what he's going to give us this year. That is truly one of these. No clue. No clue at all. Spencer Rattler's there. Maybe you have AK and Kendre Miller. I believe that's going to be your 2 running backs of choice. You still have Jamal Williams if you want to put him to vulture touchdowns. Then you got Chris Olave, and your second best wide receiver is Rashid Shaheed. So it is just like the Cowboys. Ceedee Lamb or nothing, Chris Olave or nothing. The only thing is you have a better running back in AK. That's it. Cedric Wilson Jr., A.T. Perry, Bub Means, Dallin Holker, Mason Tipton. Nothing. I don't see nothing there but Chris Olave. And then on defense, you have Isaiah Foskey. I think he's going to be a good linebacker. He's pretty big, though. He is like a Demario Thomas. Demario. You still have Cameron Jordan. Is he going to start slowing down? We don't know. Passing Young, can he be good? Chase Young, can he turn into the Ohio State Chase Young? Can he do it? Brian Brzee out of Clemson, can he be the other impact guy in the inside? The DT next to Bryce to Chase Young. Kalen Saunders next to Brzee. Then you have Kendall Vickers. You have DeMario. You have Willie Gay, Super Bowl champion from Kansas City. He should be very good. He should fit. You have Penei Sewell's brother or cousin, Nafai Sewell. We'll see what he does. Paulson Adebo, Will Harris. You still got Marshawn Lattimore. You got Kool-Aid McKinstry. So just because I say that the offense is Chris Olave, AK, and Prey, the defense, if that back end is as good as it is on paper, Marshawn Lattimore, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Tyrann Mathieu, if that plays up to snuff, then for sure. But if it doesn't, Dennis Allen might be the first coach fired this year. Because there's nothing there for him. Like, there's nothing there for him. Zero. You don't have no name, cachet, nothing. Kick out the door. Like a Matt Rule, and even Matt Rule came in with more cachet to Carolina out of college. So Dennis Allen's literally like, okay, poof. Like, seriously. If seriously. Okay, first game against the Panthers at your house, you should win. You should win. You're at your house versus the Panthers. You should win. Versus the Cowboys, unfortunately, you're losing in Dallas. Versus the Eagles, you're losing in New Orleans. Versus the Falcons in Atlanta, you're losing. Versus the Chiefs in Arrowhead, you're losing. This schedule is horrible for you guys. Holy shit. Versus the Bucks at your house, you should win that. Versus the Broncos at your house, you should win that. Why? Because you're facing a rookie quarterback. Versus the Chargers in SoFi, you're losing. Versus the Panthers in Carolina. By this time, is Bryce Young figuring it out? Is he finding Xavier Legette? Is Jonathan Brooks back? Questions, but I think you win that. Then you go again at your house versus the Falcons. You should win that, but they still have you in talent. The Browns, you're losing, even though it's at your house. The Rams, you're losing, even though at your house. You should beat the Giants in the Meadowlands. You should beat the Commanders, but at this point in the season, Jalen might be really hitting his stride. But you should beat him in New Orleans, even though it would be a homecoming for him because he played at LSU. So maybe not. The Packers, you're getting destroyed in Lambeau. The Raiders, you should win because you do have the better quarterback, but who knows how they're playing then. I think you should win, though. Again, the Bucs in Tampa Bay, probably for a playoff spot if you have done anything significant, or if the NFC South is as bad as it might be. You know, I think you lose that against the Bucs at their house. Again, 6-7 wins, 8 wins total, maybe 9. Maybe if I give you, maybe you do beat. Let's say you beat the Cowboys, or you beat the Falcons in Atlanta. You know, or somehow you beat the Chargers. You know. That's about it. That's about it. Mid. That is what this division is. Now, let's move on to the let's move on to the worst team in the NFL last year. Carolina. Bryce Young. Are you going to be Bryce Young? Seriously. Are you going to be Bryce Young? That's literally the question. Will you be Bryce Young that we saw at Alabama? We don't know. Okay, Jonathan Brooks, when he gets back, are you going to be a sufficient amount of talent in that backfield to take the pressure off Bryce Young? So he's not getting double coverage and everything in the light box because they can't run the ball. We shall see. Jonathan Brooks, I think, is going to become the starting running back over Miles Sanders, over Chuba Hubbard. Then you got rookie Jalen Coker. You got Devin Carter, Deontay Johnson. Is he going to be your number one? Xavier Legette is going to be your number one, or Jonathan Mingo going to be your number one? Who's going to be your number one? It's not going to be Adam Thielen. It might be Jatavion Sanders. It might be your tight end. Because he has legit number one upside. So you definitely have better weapons than you had last year. And I believe that you have a coach that will allow you to be yourself within that system, being Dave Canales. And I believe you guys do it better. You have Tommy Tremble, but I think Jatavion Sanders will be your number one tight end and might be your number one option. Is Jonathan Mingo going to be a better second-year guy? Is Xavier Legette going to show the DK Metcalf upside? Is Deontay Johnson still going to be Deontay Johnson that we saw in Pittsburgh a couple years ago? What about another rookie, Jalen Coker? You know? What's he going to do? You have Ian Thomas as well. Still got Tommy Tremble. You know? But now, Ika Mekwonu, high draft pick. Are you going to show up? Are you going to block? Because last year was bad. So hopefully he learned. Then you have Derek Brown. Good. A'Shawn Robinson. Good. Then you got Kelvon Chason. I believe he's from. You still got Jadeveon Clowney. Chason. Josie Jewell as your linebacker. As I believe your middle. Because Luvu got sent to the. You sent Luvu to the Commanders. You still got Shaq Thompson, which I believe will be your leading, if not Josie Jewell, it'll be Shaq Thompson, your leading tackler. TJ Wanham. J.C. Horn. Are you going to be J.C. Horn out of South Carolina? Are you going to be the guy that they drafted? After the injuries and everything, are you going to be the guy that they drafted? You have Jordan Fuller. Xavier Woods. Like that's gonna be the question. That defense, can you get to the quarterback? Because that back end is not strong. The back end is not strong. So can you get to the quarterback with a Derek Brown, with Jadeveon Clowney? Can you get there? Like I said, against the Saints, you're losing over there. Against the Chargers, you're losing at home. Against the Raiders, you might win. You might have the better quarterback. So you might win. But you're also going against Max Crosby and how your offensive line operates. Probably not. Bengals, you're losing. Against the Bears, you're losing. You're losing against Caleb in Chicago. You're losing that. You're losing against the Falcons. You're losing against the Commanders in Washington. These are all teams that have better teams than you. You're losing against Bo Nix. You might win against the Saints at your house. You should win against the Giants. I think the Giants close to being the worst team in the NFL. In Munich. You're getting whooped by the Chiefs. You're losing against the Buccaneers at your house unless you figure out something. The Eagles are whooping you. The Cowboys are whooping you. The Cardinals, it should be a good game, but they're whooping you because Kyler Murray is a much better quarterback than Bryce Young. You're losing against the Bucs, and then you're losing against the Falcons. 3-4 win season again. Again with a new coach. You got to show me something, man, because I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it at all. Okay? And then finally, the team that I think will dominate the division, the Falcons. If we look at the roster, we got Kirk Cousins. Michael Penix Jr. if anything happens. And I think he'll slide right in. You have Jace McClellan from Alabama. You got Bijan and you still got Tyler Algier. So your running back position set. Then you have Drake London, Cordero Hodge, Ray Ray McLeod, Darnell Mooney, which is hurt, I believe. Let me check that. Let me double check that real quick. Is he hurt? No, he's not hurt, so he's gonna play. He's gonna play. Yeah, he's active. So you got Darnell Mooney, which is going to be a great number 2 to Drake London. If not, he turns to number 1. Rondale Moore is the one who's out. Rondale Moore is out for the season. Yeah, he destroyed his leg. Then you have Casey Washington. Then you have Ross Dwelly and Kyle Pitts. Will Kyle Pitts be Kyle Pitts from his rookie year? That's all we want. 1,000 yards. Throw you a couple more touchdowns. I think with Kirk Cousins, he will be. It's possible that with Kirk Cousins, he's his number 1 target. Very possible. Because he's going to play more like a wide receiver than a tight end. I promise you. I don't have to worry about your offensive line. You have Chris Lindstrom. You have Jake Matthews. You have Caleb McGarry. I do not have to worry about that offensive line. I don't. On the defensive side, you still got Grady Jarrett. You got Zach Harrison. You have Onyemata. You have Rucororo, the rookie out of Clemson. Kentavious Street. Then you have Lorenzo Carter and Arnold Ebiketie as your linebackers. Caden Ellis. You have Matthew Judon, who should be your sack leader. Braylon Trice, who should, the rookie from Washington, who should be able to disrupt the interior and get sacks coming from the outside. And then you have A.J. Terrell, Jesse Bates, Justin Simmons. You have everything you need to dominate this division. Okay? Versus the Steelers, you should win. If you take care of TJ Watt, there is nothing else that they can do to you. Russell Wilson got named the starter. Should they have started Justin Fields? I don't think so. Justin Fields does not know how to throw through the middle of the field. Does not throw to the middle of the field efficiently. Can't throw in tight windows in the middle of the field. Can't hit in cuts. Can't hit slants. Can't hit post. So you should win against the Steelers. Against the Eagles, close game, but you're in Philly. I think you lose that one. Against the Chiefs, you're losing that one, even though it's in Atlanta. You win against the Saints in your house. You win against the Buccaneers in your house. You win against the Panthers in their house. Seattle is interesting because you're facing Geno. Now, talent-wise, you can kind of match up with them, but I think having Miles Murphy on the other side is going to make a difference. I think Seattle wins that game, even though it's in Atlanta. I think you win against the Bucs at home in their house. Just thinking about it now, I think you win against the Bucs. You should win against the Cowboys. The Cowboys shouldn't beat you. In my opinion, you have a better offense than the Cowboys. You should beat the Saints, even though it's in New Orleans. You should beat the Broncos, just better quarterback play. The Chargers are going to beat you, even though you're in Atlanta. I think that Harbaugh and Justin Herbert at that point are really clicking. Versus the Vikings, it's interesting. Because if Sam Darnold is playing great, then, looking at the rest of the roster, it should be a very close game, maybe a 3-point game at the end. Now, if Sam Darnold has already shit the bed, then you should win that game because it's going to be Jaron Hall or, no JJ. So they really don't have an out there. Nick Mullet, they don't have an out there. You should win against the Raiders, even though it's in Oakland. You should destroy the Giants at home. Against the Commanders in Washington, you should win that game, but Jaden Daniels could be really firing on that Rookie of the Year path, and he might get you, but I think you have enough firepower with everything you got on both sides of the ball to beat the Commanders at home in their house. And then you're destroying the Panthers last game of the season in your house. 10 to 12 win team. Division winner. Kirk Cousins back in the playoffs. Raheem Morris does a great job. And if the defense plays well and everybody on that defense shows up, this could be a scary team. We shall see. Now, if Kirk goes down again and you got Michael Penix, it might change a little, but Michael Penix can do exactly what Kirk Cousins does. Even better. He has a stronger arm. He's younger. He does have the same amount of actually he has more injuries in his past, but he looks healthy and he is accurate down the field. And you have Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and Darnell Mooney, plus Bijan. I don't think you should have a problem. Okay? Let's go to the AFC South. Talk about this is a division where truly going to come down to quarterback play. That's literally what it's going to come down to for all 4 teams in this division is quarterback play. Whoever plays the best probably gets the best record and wins the division. The MVP of the league could come from this division. Why do I say that? Because of CJ. We'll get to that later. So if we look at the roster, they got Mac Jones as their backup. You got Trevor, paid him $55 million a year, so now he has to. Travis Etienne looks good this year. I think he'll have a big year. Gabe Davis is going to be a great number 2. Devin Duvernay, I think, will rise up as a good number 3. And then your number 1 and 1A, 1B, your number 1A and 1B options are either going to be Christian Kirk with the same rapport that they had last year or the year before Calvin Ridley stepped in, or Brian Thomas Jr., the rookie from LSU with a super high upside, 4'4", 6+, 6'4", 4'4", 205, like that kid. He looked good in preseason, and I think he's going to look good during the season. So that's what it's going to come down to for Trevor. Evan Ingram is a great tight end. You still have Luke Farrell. You got Parker Washington if you need another from Penn State last year. If you need another receiver, maybe he's your number 3. Your offensive line, you have Mitch Morse, Ezra Cleveland, Brandon Scherf, Javon Foster, Anton Harrison, Cam Robinson. You should be good. The defensive part is where you guys have to improve, especially on the back end. Having Eric Armstead, Miles Cole, Josh Allen, Trayvon Walker, we need you to wake up. It's about to be year 3. Year 3, you need to wake up. We took you number 1 overall. Jordan Jefferson, the kid from LSU. Tyler Lacey. Jeremiah Ledbetter. You know what I'm saying? Mason Smith from LSU, the rookie. Need to see him. Devin Lloyd, year 3. What are we doing? We need you to be that number 1 linebacker that we drafted in the first round. Chad Muma, same thing. Oluokun is going to lead them in tackles. I know that. Tyson Campbell, you just got paid. You better be ready. Okay? Jarian Jones, the rookie out of Florida State. Antonio Johnson. You got Darnell Savage, Andrew Wingard, Andre Sisco, Ronald Darby. Like, that back end has to show up. From linebackers back has to show up. It doesn't matter if Josh Allen gets 16 sacks if you're getting torched in third on first and second down. Doesn't matter. So let's go to against the Dolphins, you're losing. And it's a good matchup. It's in Miami. First game of the season. Trevor Lawrence versus Tua. A defense that is kind of right there with the Dolphins, and then a defense that should be good with the Jaguars, and an offense that's prolific with the Dolphins versus an offense that is yet to be proven with the Jaguars. Should be a good matchup, but you're losing. You're losing. You're losing against the Browns, even though it's at your house. Even though I think that you could win and you should win because I think you have the better quarterback. But you don't have the better defense. Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith are still over there. Denzel Ward is still over there. Greg Newsome is still over there. So you have a problem. So I think you lose that. Against the Bills, you're losing in Buffalo. Against the Texans, you're losing in Houston. Against the Colts, you're winning at home. Against the Bears, you should win. You're facing your rookie quarterback, but you're also facing Montez Sweat. Jalen Johnson. And you're also facing Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, and DJ Moore, plus DeAndre Swift. So will you win? It's in London. Interesting. You should win. Versus the Patriots, you should destroy this team. Every team that faces this team versus except the Giants and probably the Carolina Panthers should absolutely annihilate this team. Versus the Packers, you're losing. Even though it's at home. Why? I believe Jordan Love and what Matt LaFleur has over there, it's just better than you at this point. And I think that defense is going to play up to its potential this year. Against the Eagles, you're losing in Philly. Against the Vikings, you should win in your house. Against the Lions, you're losing in Detroit. At your house versus the Texans, this is going to be for the division. This is the game that is going to decide who is fighting for a wild card spot and fighting for the division at the end of the year. The second game versus the Texans, because it's either going to go 2-0 Texans or a tiebreaker. I think you guys can win that. I think you make adjustments from the last game. It's at your house. I think you win that versus the Texans. Versus the Titans in Tennessee, it all depends on Will Levis. We'll get to him shortly. It all depends on Will Levis. It literally all depends on Will Levis. And I think that Trevor Lawrence, because of the experience, you guys win that in Tennessee. Versus the Jets is going to be a defensive battle. If Aaron Rodgers is healthy, you're losing. You're at home. Doesn't matter. You're facing Aaron Rodgers. If Aaron Rodgers is not healthy or not playing up to snuff, you should win. Versus the Raiders, you should win. No questions asked. Versus the Titans in your house, you should be cinching up the division by this point. If you're going to win the division, you should win that. And versus the Colts, you should win that because you have the experience. And if you can stop the run, you can win that game. So you could potentially have a 10-win season, 11-win season. You could have a very prosperous, successful season and win your division. But it's all in Trevor Lawrence. And I've been a Trevor Lawrence fan since Clemson freshman year. I thought the kid was the truth. But you got to show it to me. Because a 20-30 record is not conducive to a great elite quarterback. And getting paid $55 million a year for that type of production is not acceptable. So, you got to show me. Potential's there. Through the roof. Got to put it together. All right. Tennessee. Like I said, all Will Levis. You got Will Levis. You're running with Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears. I don't see no problem there. Two fast guys, shifty. You guys should be able to run the ball. You have Tyler Boyd, Treylon Burks, DeAndre Hopkins, and Calvin Ridley. If you are not throwing the absolute shit out of the ball, you're failing your receivers. If Treylon Burks develops into a good number 3, because at this point he can't be the number 1 or the number 2, you have you have basically 2 prolific, certified number 1 receivers. Both have led the league in catches. Both have yards. Both have led the league in yards. One has led the league in catches. Another one has led the league in touchdowns. Like, you should be throwing the absolute piss out of the ball. And Tyler Boyd is a great number 3 that will always be open. Not only that, you have Chika Okonkwo as your tight end. Another athletic, fast, shifty tight end. So there is no reason you should not be a prolific offense. Zero reason. Nick Vanette. It's all going to come down to J.C. Latham and Peter Skoronski. That's what it's going to come down to. Your line play and Will Levis. That's it. If Will Levis shows up as the 2022 version of himself at Kentucky, at the 2021 self of him at Kentucky, he's going to do great. He's going to do great. But if he still has the mechanical issues from the injuries and stuff like that, it's going to be tough. I think that he's past the injury phase. I think that he's ready to take over for this team, and I think he's going to be pretty damn good. Kid has everything. Physical gifts, arm, just needs the accuracy. You can teach that. Okay? When we go to the defensive side, Sebastian Joseph Day, Jeffrey Siemens, Tavondre Sweat. Jeffrey Siemens and Tavondre Sweat have the potential to be the best D-tackle duo in the league. I said it. Why? Jeffrey Siemens is already dominant. Tavondre Sweat could be a legit run stopper and Christian Wilkins-like sack getter. He could be a 10-sack guy. He just has to find the field and stay there. Not in injury in injury wise, but more in the sense of more in the sense of staying on the field like a Jordan Davis, like don't get tired. Cedric Gray, another former another former. Oh, no, he's a rookie. He's from North Carolina. He should do good. Ernest Jones IV, Harold Landry. You have Kenneth Murray. Awuzie, he should be good this year. Roger McCreary, he should be good this year. L'Jarius Sneed. Like, you have Quandre Diggs, Jamal Adams, like Amani Hooker. Like, what else do you want? Show up. With that roster, you could win the division. You could win the division with that roster. So let's go to the schedule. Let's see what we got. You should win against the Titans. The matchup is pretty even across the board. But since Caleb is a rookie and Will has just a little bit more experience, I think that you should win that first game. But it is in Chicago. And the kid could absolutely light you up. If he does what he did at USC during his Heisman year, he will destroy you. So you better tell your corners to play. Awuzie, Monty Hooker, Sneed, all of them. Versus the Jets, I think that defense gets you. I think that defense and Robert Saleh, I think they get you. Versus the Packers, same thing. LaFleur, I think he gets you. Rookie coach, The Dolphins in Miami, we get you. You're not stopping that offense. The Colts, you should win because I think you have the better throwing quarterback. The more developed throwing quarterback. And I believe you also have the best weapons. Not in the backfield, though, because JT's insane. But with DeAndre Hopkins and Calvin Ridley, you shouldn't have a problem. Versus the Bills, you're losing that. Versus the Lions, you're losing that. Versus the Patriots, you're destroying them. Versus the Chargers, close game, but I think the Chargers win. They're at home. Versus the Vikings, you should win because Sam Darnold is not as talented as Will Levis. Now, matchup-wise, JJ's better than both of them. But in the aggregate, unless Jordan Addison's going absolutely nuts, in the aggregate, it's pretty even. It's pretty even. So it's going to come down to the defense. And I think you have a better defense. So I think you win that at home. Versus the Texans, I think you lose that first game in Houston. Just think CJ Stroud has too much for you. Versus the Commanders in Washington, it all depends on Jaden Daniels. But you have enough talent and more talent than that team. And I think that you should be able to win that game. Versus the Jaguars will probably be one of the determining factors of the division. Close game at your house. I think you win that one. Versus the Bengals, I think you lose, even though it's at your house. Versus the Colts in Indianapolis, if AR hasn't figured it out yet, you're winning. Versus the Jaguars in their house, you're losing. Because I think this is for all the marbles right here, whether it's a wild card spot or the division. And then versus the Texans at your house, you might win because the Texans might be number one in the conference. I mean, well, in the conference it's possible, but in the division, and maybe they rest their players. 8 to 10 wins. Possible. Better than last year. Better than last year. I think that's pretty legit. You know. So now, the Indianapolis Colts. Anthony Richardson. That's it. That's the Indianapolis Colts in a nutshell. Anthony Richardson. AR5. There is no, oh, but what if Michael Pittman is the best receiver in the league? But what if Alec Pierce turns into an animal? What if A.D. Mitchell turns into a number one bona fide receiver? None of that shit matters. None of it. Because the guy at the controls has to learn how to pass efficiently. And in 2 years, and watching him, 4 games last year, 3 preseason games, and his whole Florida career, I haven't seen this man put together a whole game. I've seen him put a quarter. I've seen him put a half, but a whole game, never seen it. Great runner, generational runner. Size, speed, Cam Newton-esque. Cam Newton-esque. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, that doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to pass the ball. You have to throw the ball. In this division, you have to throw the ball. Okay? You need to. It's a must. It's a must to throw the ball. You can't bullshit your way out of not pushing the ball down the field accurately. Look at Patrick Mahomes. Look at CJ Stroud. Look at Joe Burrow. Look at Josh Allen. What can they do? Hit in between the numbers, which Justin Fields can't do. That's why he don't work. And hit balls downfield. When they're there. Not when you want to throw it. When they're there, can you make it count? Can you hit your easy ones? He misses the easy ones. He misses your screen. He misses your flat. He misses your bubble, your rocket. He misses your angle routes, oversails them, and then they get tipped and picked. All that is what's on the line for the Colts. Jonathan Taylor. Let's look at the roster. Let's look at the roster. Joe Flacco, if Anthony Richardson doesn't work out. Pretty good. Jonathan Taylor. Josh Downs, which should be back for the season, I believe. Anthony Gould, the rookie that has been showing some stuff. A.D. Mitchell could be a number 1. Alec Pierce could be a solid number 2. And then Michael Pittman, bona fide number 1. Mo Alley Cox, huge tight end. Jelani Woods, huge tight end. Ryan Kelly, Quentin Nelson, Blake Freeland, Bernard Raymond, Braden Smith. You got a wonderful offensive line. You don't got to worry about sacks. Samson Ebukam. Latu. Expect a big year from him. 10 plus sacks. Adengbo. Kwity Paye. Expect a big year from him. Taven Bryan. Expect a good year from him. DeForest Buckner. Expect another basically all-pro year from him. You got Raekwon Davis. You got Zaire another really good linebacking core with E.J. Speed and Zaire Franklin. You have Olubi, who's been playing well. Jalen Jones, Kenny Moore, Julian Blackmon, Nick Cross. Like, you got what you need. It's not like you don't. But can your quarterback put it together? And listen, I have him in a dynasty league, so I hope I'm betting on him that he puts it together. But I haven't seen a glimpse of it. And you think that if you can't do it in the preseason, where all the running is 2-man and man and cover 2 the whole time in base defense 3-4, that you're gonna be able with the exotics and the amoebas and zone blitzes, and come on, man. I know he's smart. I know he thinks the game the right way, but he has to put the mind with the arm and make it sink in together. And then you'll see something like Cam Newton. They're losing against the Texans. First week, losing against the Texans, and they're at home. They're losing against the Packers. They might lose against the Bears because Caleb Williams is a better thrower. Defenses match up, and I think Caleb Williams has a better receiving core. Against the Steelers, they should win. They have more talent. Colts have more talent. Now, if TJ Watt should not dominate this game. With Quentin Nelson, with Braden Smith, with Ryman, like, he should not. He probably will, but he should not. So they should win at home against the Steelers. Against the Jaguars, I think you lose. Trevor's a better thrower. More consistent thrower. Now you have a better defense. Defensive personnel. You have a better offensive line. But Trevor's a better thrower. Against the Titans, Will Levis is one of those guys where maybe the decision-making is not there yet, but kid can throw. Kid has an arm. Kid can sling the shit out of the ball. He could be accurate. He's healthy now. So it's possible you lose that one. You're losing to the Texans in their house. Before that, you're losing to the Dolphins in your house. Losing to the Texans. You should win against the Vikings. And this is no shot against Justin Jefferson. But I need to see it with my own 2 eyes starting next week that Sam Darnold is actually going to be a good quarterback for this team. Because I love KOC. I love Kevin O'Connell. I love what they've done with Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson, JJ. I love all that. But you need the guy at the controls to not be seeing ghost. So we'll see. I believe in KOC. I believe he can turn him into a good quarterback. But I think you win that one. You're losing against the Bills at home. You're losing against the Jets in New York. You're losing against the Lions at home. You should win against the Patriots. And the reason why, I believe you have a more solidified defense overall, top to bottom. And I believe that by far you have the most talent on offense. Offensive line, receivers, running back, and quarterback included. So you have to beat the Patriots in Foxborough. Don't care. Against the Broncos, it's all depending on how Bo Nix is playing. If Bo Nix plays like how he played in the preseason, efficient, poised, good decisions, nice balls, pause, ball placement, and being the more athletic Drew Brees, he gonna cook you. He gonna cook you. But since he's a rookie, I think at this point, if AR's still in, that means AR is producing. So at this point, I think that you should win this game. You have the better defense, better defensive personnel, although I love PS2. But you have a better overall defense with DeForest Buckner, Kwity Paye. So you should win against the Broncos. Against the Titans again at your house. You should win that one at your house. You should. Against the Giants, you should win. Borderline the worst team in the NFL. Against the Jaguars at home. Are the Jaguars going to be playing anybody? Like playing their players? Who knows? Or is the division all cinched up already? I think it's going to be basically what I'm saying. I think it's going to be another tough year for the Colts from what I have seen from AR-5. Unless Shane Steichen literally says, you know what? I'm going to turn this kid into Jalen Hurts, which is what he tried to do last year. And what happened? He got hurt. So it's either try to turn him into Jalen Hurts, or at some point in the season when you're like scraping, you're like 4-6, you know, you're like 4-5, and you get into that nut crunch time in the season where if you want to save your season, you better make a change. Then you put in Joe Flacco and the offense will get a lot more efficient. It's going to get a lot less dynamic foot-wise. Running-wise, it's going to be JT, and they're going to stack the box, and Joe Flacco not going to be able to run. But when we're talking about accuracy, throwing the ball down the field, hitting the seam, and everything, it'll be a lot more efficient. But I still see this team like a 5-6 win team. Maybe. And it's all based on AR-5. And I love AR-5. I went to UF. I'm a Gator. You know, let's go. You feel me? But you gotta throw the ball. You gotta develop as a thrower. And then finally, people's dark horse Super Bowl pick. Some people's dark horse MVP pick. Who's that? Oh, Houston Texans. Off rip. One of the best rosters in the NFL, top to bottom, defense, offense, special teams, everything you need. One of the best coaching staffs in the league. CJ Stroud, dark horse MVP candidate. You're laughing at me. Oh, what about Lamar again? What about Aaron Rodgers? What about Mahomes? What about Joe Burrow? CJ Stroud, dark horse MVP candidate. I'm telling you right now. Right now. I'm not telling you week 10, week 11. I'm telling you right now. That's how much I believe in this kid. From what I saw last year. Because guess what? What he did last year is called quarterbacking. Some of the shit he did was not Slowick's like offense making beautiful open KOC, Kyle Shanahan, Mike McDaniel type of open throws. No, these were in the rhythm of the play, going through your reads and making a good damn throw. That was most of the offense for the Texans. On third down, because they were one of the worst running offenses in the league. I think that's going to change with Joe Mixon. But if we look down this, CJ, Cam Akers been looking great in preseason off the Achilles. You have Joe Mixon, Damian Pierce, Omunguwale. Then you got Nico Collins, Tank Dell, and Stephon Diggs. Not to mention Xavier Hutchinson, which could turn out to be a pretty good player. I remember watching him at Iowa State, big body. You have John Mechie, who was amazing at Alabama. He could still develop. You got Robert Woods. Then you got Brevin Jordan, Dalton Schultz, Kate Stover, which is basically another one of C.J. Stroud's best friends from Ohio State. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got Kenyon Green, Shaq Mason, Titus Howard, Laramie Tunsil. Offensive line I don't got to worry about. Then you got Will Anderson, Derek Barnett, Mario Edwards Jr., Jerry Hughes, Daniil Hunter, Khalil Davis, Futukasi, Tim Settle, Aziz Al-Shair, Christian Harris, Jamal Hill, Deshaun Phillips, Toto Towo, another Alabama product, Kamari Lassiter, Jeff Okuda, he could be a number one corner, but he has Derek Stanley on the other side. And then you got Jalen Petrie and Jimmy Ward. You don't need nothing else. Nothing. This is a Super Bowl ready roster. So let's go. Let's go to the stand. Let's go to the games. Against the Colts, blowing them out. Against the Bears, blowing them out. Against the Vikings, blowing them out. Against the Jaguars, blowing them out. Against the Bills, good game, probably losing. Why are they losing? Even though it's at home. This one's in Houston. And it's also the Stephon Diggs revenge game. So I might have to, when we get to this week, I might have to think about it based on what's happening. But I think actually the Texans win this game. So we're starting what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-0, 7 to go. Patriots destroying them. Packers is the first. That's the first game. That's the first game where we see where these young quarterbacks are at. Where's Jordan Love? Where's CJ Stroud? That's going to be a battle. That shit might be 38-35. Last second field goal type shit. Game of the year. You know what I'm saying? I think the Packers get it, though, because it's at Lambeau. I think the Packers get it because it's in Lambeau. Against the Colts in Houston, whooping them. Against the Jets in New York. See, the thing about the Jets to me is that regardless of what the offense is doing, that defense will keep them in games. So I think they lose that one against the Jets if Aaron Rodgers is healthy. Against the Lions, another tough game, but at home. I think you get that on the Lions. At home. Against the Cowboys in Dallas, you're whooping them. Whooping them. There's no comparison in talent. Talking about Ceedee Lamb and who? And who? Ceedee Lamb and who? Micah Parsons and who? Trayvon Diggs and Deron Bland? That's it. DeMarcus Lawrence? That's it. You get what I'm saying? Against the Titans in Houston, you're winning. Against the Jaguars in Jacksonville, this is the division. And I'm picking the Texans to win this division. So I think they win that one. Against the Chiefs, they lose. Why? Because it's at Arrowhead. Because it's at Arrowhead, they lose. But I think it's a close game. Against the Ravens, toss up, but it's in Houston. It's in Houston. So I'm going to give it to them. Against the Titans in Tennessee, I think they win unless they rest their players. Potentially. How many losses did I say? Bills possibly. Packers. Jets. Against the Dolphins in Houston. That's going to be a battle. That's going to be a battle. I think CJ wins that. Chiefs. 4 losses. Could be a 1 seed. That's how good this team is. Could be a 1 seed. They stay healthy. CJ plays like himself. No, I can see 4,500 yards, 45 touchdowns, 10 picks, maybe less. MVP. Simple as that. Number 1 seed. Get the bye. Then you got to beat PM. That's it. So I think that this is the set. If I had to rank AFC teams, I'm going to put the Chiefs at the top because the roster didn't change much. They just won 2 Super Bowls back to back. So if you don't put them number 1, I don't know what you're doing. But second, and you're going to bring up, oh, but what about the Bengals? What about the Jets? What about Baltimore? Bro, top to bottom, roster-wise, I'm taking the Texans over anybody that's not the Chiefs or the 49ers. And if the 49ers don't have Trent Williams, give me the Texans. Seriously. That's how I see it. All right. Let's go to a little bit of baseball to finish it off. It's gotten even crazier. You thought it wouldn't? No, it's gotten even crazier. Even crazier. New York and Baltimore are still separated by 1 game in the AL East. This shit is going to go down to the last game of the season on who's going to get that bye. Cleveland and KC are 1 game apart for the lead of the AL Central. And KC had the lead today until they lost today. Then Cleveland went back up 1 because they're facing each other. We're going to get to Bobby Witt in a moment. Minnesota's only 3 games back. The White Sox are already eliminated. Houston is 3.5 games up on Seattle. But Seattle's pitching is doing well. They just cannot hit. Randy Arozarena, Julio Rodriguez, Julio Rodriguez, Kyle Raleigh, Josh Rojas. They can't hit. They cannot hit. I don't know what's happening. And then, Texas 9.5 games back. That's too much. Atlanta's 5.5 games back of the Phillies. The Phillies have been struggling a little bit, but they kind of picked it up a little bit the last 2 games. But at 5.5, Atlanta has nobody. Atlanta is running on Marcell Ozuna and hoping that Matt Olson catches a heater. That's what they're hoping. And Michael Harris. That's what they're hoping for. That's it. Schwellenbach, Chris Sale, Max Fried, Charlie Morton. That's their pitching staff. Not even Bryce Elder is pitching anymore. So, Raisel's doing great. Raisel Iglesias. Milwaukee, 8.5 games up on the Cubs. That is signed, sealed, delivered. Signed, sealed, delivered. And then the Dodgers and Arizona and the Padres are still stuck at 3 games apart, with the Dodgers up 3 games on Arizona and San Diego. And Arizona has been the best team for the last month and a half. Since the All-Star break, the best team in the MLB have been the Arizona Diamondbacks. And that's with Ketel Marte up and Corbin Carroll being down. And that's with Christian Walker down the whole time. And now Ketel Marte has been down the last week. And Corbin Carroll finally picked up and got back to his ways of last year of his Rookie of the Year. And then the Padres are pitching well. And Jackson Merrill is putting a case for some MVP votes and probably cinching up the Rookie of the Year, even though I thought it would have been Shota or Paul Skeens. But Jackson Merrill's hitting .290 as a rookie with amazing catches in the outfield. Never played center field before this year, which is insane. Made the opening day roster and is hitting bombs in the 8th and 9th inning. He's one of their best players. So, it's tight. And then you go to the wild card. The wild card is literally Baltimore up 4.5 games on KC. KC up 2 games on Minnesota, right? And then Boston has fallen back a little bit. They're at 4 games back. And Seattle's 5 games back. Detroit is 5.5 games back. Arizona's 3 games up on Atlanta. So is San Diego. And then the Mets are 3 games back. And the Cubs are 5 games back. The Giants are 5.5 games back. And at this point, 7, 9. Yeah, I think it ends at the Giants. So it's still up in the air. The only thing that are synced up, I'm talking about, it's done. AL and NL MVP. And I love Bobby Witt. I love Bobby. He's hitting 346. He was hitting 352 last week. I love Bobby. He's going to have over 200 hits, over 30 stolen bases, over 30 home runs. He's having an absolute all-time year. But guess who's second in average? Aaron Judge, 333. Vladdy's at 322. Jordan's at 311. And Marcell Ozuna's at 308. Ohtani has fallen. He's at 294. Maybe he could get back to 300, hopefully. Catel's at 298. Altuve's at 299. But you got power hitters at the top. Bobby is power and speed, but Aaron Judge power, Vladdy power, Jordan power, Marcell Ozuna power. In average. That's insane. In average? That's crazy. With the pitching how it is today? That's bonkers. That is borderline scary. Then home runs, you got Aaron Judge at 51 at a pace to break his 62 home run record. Shohei's at 41. He already has a 40-40, and he got a 40-40 on a walk-off grand slam. It's where he got his 40th home run to win a game at home. Can't write this stuff. Steals his 40th bag and then hits his 40th home run in the same game. 9th inning grand slam to win the game? What? What? That's insane. Incredible. Santander's with 38. Ozuna has 37. Soto's at 37 home runs. Juan Soto and Judge have 51 and 37 home runs. I think it's only been done like once or twice by Yankee teammates, being Gary, DiMaggio and Ruth, or Gehrig and Ruth. Two guys over 40 home runs in one season. Or a guy over 50 and one guy with 40. I think so, in the 1930s. Then RBIs, Aaron Judge, 122. Jose Ramirez at 104. Marcel's at 98. Vinny is at 97. Juan Soto's at 95. Judge is at 122 and Juan Soto's at 95. They play for the same team and hit back-to-back. That's how crazy those two are. By the way, Juan Soto's 25 years old. 25. Bobby Witt's there. He's at 95. He'll get to 100 for sure. Salvi Perez at 94. He's a Hall of Famer. Josh Naylor, Ohtani's at 94. He'll get to 100. So he'll have 40, 40, and 100. Ridiculous. I mean, what we're seeing, don't take these seasons for granted. These seasons don't happen often. Bobby's at 185 hits. Vladdy's at 164. Luis Arias at 162. Duran's at 161. And Altuve's at 158. And I think all of them get to 200. Bobby, for sure. Bobby gets to 200, I think, in the next 2 weeks. I think Vladdy and Bobby get to 200 for sure. Bobby, for sure. Bobby's at 185. Doesn't he needs 15 more hits. By the way, he swings the bat. 5 more games. Maybe 8. Ellie's at 61 stolen bases. But he's like slowing down. But Shohei's at 40. Second in all of baseball. Bryce Durang has 37. Jose Caballero has 37. Hamilton from the Red Sox has 33. So Ellie has 61. Has a chance, because he's doing it slow and he sometimes when he doesn't hit, he doesn't get on base. I think Ellie should try to steal at least once or twice a game if he's on base. You're going to get there 90% of the time. Why not? Pick your pitch and go. Nobody can catch you. Same thing with Bobby. I wish Bobby ran more. Bobby in stolen bases is at. Bobby's at 27. He'll get to 30, but like he could have gotten 40. With his speed, the fastest guy in the league. Him and Ellie are the fastest guys in the league. Along with Corbin Carroll. Then you go to the pitching. Dylan Cease leads in wins with 12. Logan Webb has 11. Luis Castillo has 11. Michael Walker has 11. Michael Walker, what? Cole Reagans has 10. You go to ERA. What the? They're putting position players. What? What? Why are they putting position players? That makes no sense. Oh, it must have 1 inning pitch. That makes no sense. That makes no sense to me. I don't understand why they can't just show you pitching numbers like they did. Now you can't see the ERA because everybody's ERA at the top is 0. And there's no data showing that. That makes no sense. Let me actually look for it. Man, I had a baseball app. Did I delete it? Maybe. I mean, let me just. It's easier to look it up in the wikis. ERA leaders. All right. Stolen bases, earned run average. MLB.com. I know they'll have it for sure. Okay. ERA. Chris Sale 2.53. You got Tarek Skubal, which is my. Those are Cy Youngs. Chris Sale and Tarek Skubal, those are your Cy Youngs. NL, AL. Then you have Zach Wheeler at 274. A Hunter Green season with 283. Jack Flaherty's at 307. Shota's at 308. Logan Gilbert's at 309. Michael King. Ronald Blanco. Seth Lugo. Bryce Miller. Tanner Houck, even though he's been struggling. Logan Webb. Fromber. Corbin. And then you might be asking, where's Skeens? He doesn't meet the requirement. It literally says it right here. When table is sorted by rate stat, example, average ERA, non-qualified players are hidden by default. Starting pitcher Paul Skeens does not yet qualify for ERA title. But this is his stats. 8-2. 2.23 ERA, who would be the lowest, 109 innings pitched, 136 strikeouts, and a whip of 0.95. Dominant. Absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Like, that's incredible to me that a rookie could do that. And he's only going to get better. It's not like he's going to slow down. Only going to get stronger. He's only going to get more efficient. Or he's already really efficient. Saves, you got a Class A with 39. Kirby Yates has 24. What happened to Helsley? Helsley disappeared from this. Helsley had like 36. That's weird. I don't think saves just disappeared, but that's really weird. And then you go down to strikeouts. Dylan Cease at 197, so he'll get to 200 for the 4th year in a row, which is crazy. Cole Reagan's going to get to 200. He's at 187. Garrett Crochet should get to 200. He's at 180. Logan Gilbert's at 172. That's a little far, maybe a little far-fetched. Flaherty's at 167. Might be a little far-fetched. And then quality starts. Logan Gilbert has 21. Logan Webb has 18. Luis Castillo has 17. Cole Reagans has 17. And Miles Michaelis has 14. But if we're talking about the 4 awards that basically put you into the Hall of Fame, if you are a superstar, player or pitcher, the MVPs, they're the MVPs and Cy Youngs, they're all cinched up. It's done. Aaron Judge, AL MVP. Shohei Ohtani, NL MVP as a DH, rehabbing from a Tommy John surgery. That means he's coming back to pitch next year. That's insane. 40-40 season. First season with the Dodgers. That is crazy. And then your Cy Youngs are in the AL is Tarek Skubal. And in the NL is Chris Sale. That's it. That's it. Thank you guys for joining me on episode 133 of the Exec Talk podcast. I love you guys. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, hit the comments, follow me on all my socials. God bless you guys, and I leave you with the outro.